We're about to start our afternoon session, and we've got some fun. We're going to shift the energy, and we're going to be upbeat, and we're going to have some fun. We've had some really heavy conversations and witnessed some really heavy things over these last few days. So I'm really excited that our afternoon we're going to be entertained and inspired this afternoon. And I think we are in real need of that right now, is that entertainment and that inspiration, right? Because doing this work is hard. It really is. All those feelings that you're feeling, those are real. Those are the truth. Like, this is hard work. Sitting in all this truth and sitting in all this work is hard. And we are all entitled to feel that. So it's really important that we take care of ourselves and take that break and have those laughs, because we can't be, we're not gonna survive if we don't take care of ourselves. So it's important that we take moments to celebrate those small victories, celebrate just being here. Our existence should be celebrated. Right? Yes! Our existence should be celebrated. Right? Yeah, you're not hearing the celebration over our existence. Our existence should be celebrated. Yeah! Now we're getting it. Our existence should be celebrated. Whew, doesn't that feel good? So good. We're ready? So I'm going to turn over to our afternoon MC, Bridgie K. See, I said I was going to forget, so I did. So it's fine. Here you go.
Thank you so much. Hey, what's going on? I just want to welcome everybody to the space. Oh, I see so many young people that I know back there. Hey, girls. I just feel so honored to be here and to bring a lot of energy and vibe for you young people. Really what I'm trying to say is I just actually want to acknowledge the magic in this moment and give it meaning. And the magic is that this is literally the only time in our lives this exact group of people will be in one space together. And that's no accident. Everybody comes with a story, an offering, an energy, and I feel really honored that we're all here together. Standing up and supporting young people is so important in our lives, and I just want to give you all a round of applause for showing up. So throughout the afternoon, we're going to have some panel discussions, but we've also brought in some artists to help inspire and motivate. Then hopefully you can see a reflection of yourselves in them. There might be moments where you feel inspiration, or you might have emotions that come up. I just ask that you honor whatever that feeling is. Sit with it. If you need any support to talk through that, there are a lot of supportive people in the building. True healing comes through connection, and connection is what today is about. It's about finding each other, finding resources, and knowing that whatever you are and whoever you are absolutely never alone. So that being said, I just actually want to welcome our first guest to the stage. Her name is Miss Christy Lee, and she is a Musqueam artist. She expresses herself and her story through words and music and poetry and weaving and Salish singing. She is such a phenomenal human being in the community. She is a beacon of love and light. She's a mother and a hip-hop artist, and she's here to introduce you all to the love that she has to offer. So, Miss Christy Lee, to the stage, girl.
I'm from the Musqueam, but the two ships, they went to Nootka Sound, right? They went in there and they met their chief, McQuina, and they would say they're from Matalamukulmuk, means like they're people of the West Coast. And what they say in return is that they say, click, go. That's what they start when they talk, right? They're very loud. Then they say, click, go, thank you, we're honored. So that's what I told them. I said, when I go to the museum in Madrid, I will tell them that you are McQuina's offspring. And I will tell them, click, go. So it's been said now that the people that you arrived at the Nootka Sound and you were at with the... But then, when they left there, they came over to Vancouver.
Swaya are the first families. The ones who made first contact, first people of these here lands, sent from various portals as caretakers and instructors, some from the skies and some from the seas, some from these rocks and some from these trees. But then some of us sent back to do our work again because this is our way. My heart is the earth and the earth is my heart. My heart is the earth and the earth is my heart. We listen to all these little birds. The crickets, the frogs, peep-pom, wachas, 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 wachas. The owls, tzitmuch, they tell us when it is time. Smoked salmon, candied salmon, salmon, sashimi, weavings are mathematical and scientific formulas and not just art. Yes, our weavings are mathematical and scientific formulas and not just art. Holistic health, probiotics, omega-3s, superfoods, natural nutrients from these here lands. Living off these lands. Plant medicine, we need this plant medicine. Deer, elk, and butter clams. Oolican, sturgeons, cedar roots, our roots since time immemorial. Sent as caretakers and instructors, a creation story passed on from centuries ago, written in the land and told in our language. Markers all across these sacred lands. House posts at YVR once host to 7 Musqueam village sites in UBC with 5 or more. Weavings in Safeways, spindle whorls on manhole covers across this city. Totem poles at Hui Hui? This isn't our way. Written in the land is our Section 35 Royal Proclamation inherent right to this Indian Act land, which we might not be able to ever own again. But 6 feet under, and within this city, before this city, you'll find 7,000-year-old basket fragments in my backyard, where my children play in a plastic pool under the same golden sun as our ancestors once did. My heart is the earth, and the earth is my heart. My heart is the earth, and the earth is my heart. Amit Tsepkakwilam. Amit Tsepkakwilam. Welcome to the unceded territory of the Musqueam people. Antachachlia talitan atlach wa Musqueam thanatan tathalamat tanamen alsamkin siam kuthanamamana e Komora el mayuch e Sophia. Komora Amit mana. Yeah. All right. So this is a track I did a little while ago when I first started doing this music. So I thought I'd just share it with you today. You guys hear me okay out there? Ladies, gents? Nisiyem, nisiyaya, tikwa min knansep, haich, kasiyem, nisiyaya, entachachlia, talitsin, chwamaskwaya, masteo. Thana tenta talama, thana menta tamkin, haitakwa, mitap kui name, tukwelmoch tamach. Thana sositla, meli, eleno, chwasim, sisamchin, chayapalano, e will see muchtuch altizit. Etal same nisiyem, nisiyaya. Sets on a white summits and sets and I know I think swallowing quits me, quits nala, ah yeah. Nisiyem, nisiyaya. Nisiyem, nisiyaya. Yeah. Nisiyem, nisiyaya. Sets on a white summits and sets and I know I think swallowing quits me, quits nala, ah yeah. Nisiyem, nisiyaya. Sets on a white summits and sets and I know I think swallowing quits me, quits nala, ah yeah, ah yeah. There is no way to say on how you make me feel in the grandest of way. These words I have to say ain't like anything you ever heard in your day. Straight spitting my way, this is how I play. Live a life in the realest way. See how I do me is in what I see. Yo, you're just like me, so happy to be upon the scene. They live super strong and keep themselves strong now. It's our time to survive. Yo, it's our time to keep this alive. No more struggle and strive. Yeah, it's time to do this, it's alright. Nisiyem Nisiyaya, Nisiyem Nisiyaya, Nisiyem Nisiyaya, Nisiyem Nisiyaya. Stetson White, Stammetin, Stetson, I know. Aiten Squallowing, Quits Ni, Quits Nala, ah yeah. Nisiyem Nisiyaya, Stetson White, Stammetin, Stetson, I know. Aiten Squallowing, Quits Ni, Quits Nala, ah yeah. I came falling from these skies, and the stories keep me alive. This is how we survive. I make this here music, it's my gift and I use it to bring me up again. This here medicine, straight to your mind is heading in, direct to your intellect. Nothing but respect, yeah, you get what you reflect. Never make a bet upon your life, just do it up right, yeah, do it up real nice. Got that sugar, got that spice, like some water with some ice. So refreshing, yeah, life is a blessing. So stop stressing, let it all in and let it all out. Oh yeah, Nisiyem Nisiyaya, yeah. Nisiyem Nisiyaya, Stetson White, Stammetin, Stetson, I know. Aiten Squallowing, Quits Ni, Quits Nala, ah yeah. Nisiyem Nisiyaya, Stetson White, Stammetin, Stetson, I know. Aiten Squallowing, Quits Ni, Quits Nala, ah yeah. Haitzapka Nisiyem Nisiyaya. All right, before I get into my next track, Haitzapka, before I get into my next track, I wanted to just explain a little bit about it. My late father is Henry Charles Tsatsumkin. And he was a protector of Sesnam, along with our beautiful MC, Rhiannon Bennett, and many of our Musqueam people who are also here in attendance tonight. I raise my hands to all of you and everyone. But he wrote this song. For those of you who don't know, Sesnam, Marpole, 70th and Granville, it's an old village site of our people. Ancient belongings dating back 2,000, 4,000, 7,000 years ago connect us to that spot. And when our ancestors were unearthed there, we stood up and said, hey, you can't take them out of there. That's our land, and we're going to take it back. So we did. And right now our community is in the process of planning on how are we going to raise awareness and protect this sacred site. So yeah, so my dad wrote this song for Sesnam, and I remixed it for the protectors of Sesnam, Haitzapka. We're holy yo, hiya. We're holy yo, we're holy yo, hiya. We're must stay yo here to litep, CM. We're must stay yo here to litep, CM. We're must stay yo here to litep, CM. We're holy yo, we're holy yo, we're holy yo, hiya. We're holy yo, we're holy yo, we're holy yo, hiya. We're holy yo, we're holy yo, we're holy yo, hiya. Siyala kwa imenamos, haitip kasiyem. Yes, siyala kwa imenama, haitip kasiyem. Yes, siyala kwa imenama, haitip kasiyem. Yes, siyala kwa imenama, haitip kasiyem. Yeah, we're holy yo, we're holy yo, hiya. We're holy yo, we're holy yo, we're holy yo, hiya. We're holy yo, we're holy yo, we're holy yo, hiya. We're must stay yo here, we're not a swallow qua. We're must stay yo here, we're not a swallow qua. We're must stay yo here, we're not a swallow qua. We're holy yo, we're holy yo, we're holy yo, hiya. We're holy yo, we're holy yo, hiya. Haitip come stay yo here, he licked to Sesnam, yeah. Haitip come stay yo here, he licked to Sesnam, yeah. Haitip come stay yo here, he licked to Sesnam, yeah. Haitip come stay yo here, he licked to Sesnam. We're holy yo, we're holy yo, we're holy yo, hiya. We're holy yo, we're holy holy, oh, we're holy, oh, hiya. We're holy, oh, holy, oh, hiya. Hey, Zeka. Shout out to the amazing crew that I get to rock it with today. Shout out to Bridgie, Erica D, Skylar, Naray, and Dee Dee Cascade. Amazing. So this is the last song I have for you. I hope you like it. Let's do it. Yeah, this is me, Miss Christy Lee, the one that set the spirits free. Yeah, this is just how it's meant to be. Yeah, this is me, Miss Christy Lee, the one that set the spirits free. Yeah, this is just how it's meant to be. Something's gonna change, but how we do this thing, y'all, gonna remain the same. I ain't here for the fame, it already came with the name. Now we do this damn thing, bring it down like heaven's rain. Now everybody from the front to the back, yeah, jump up and down till we shake the shack. Yeah, I'm bringing it like that, cause I was raised on that. Universal colossal, my ancestors older than these fossil fuels that you're trying to use. Yo, take them out the earth, I'll bring them back to you. Yeah, what you gonna do? I'll take them out the earth and I'll bring them back on you. Ah, yeah. Never stay stressing, cause we realize our blessings in the earth is where it's resting. Yeah, these are the lessons from sun up to sunset. And yeah, we never stay stressing. Ah, yeah. Yeah, we never stay stressing, cause we realize our blessings in the earth is where it's resting. Yeah, these are the lessons from sun up to sunset. And yeah, we never stay stressing. Again, this is me, Miss Christy Lee, the one that set the spirits free. And my crooked letter L to the double E. Yeah, this here's my reality. My magic comes from the Milky Way galaxy. Yeah, this is how we do when we bring this new on through. It's not something you can just pick up and try to do. Yo, we were born with this. This is how we live on the 604. So shout out to my 550s and my 549s. And my 555s. This is how we do it. This is how we keep the spirits alive. Ah, yeah. Ah, yeah. Yeah, we never stay stressing, cause we realize our blessings in the earth is where it's resting. Yeah, these are the lessons from sun up to sunset. And yeah, we never stay stressing. Yeah, we never stay stressing, cause we realize our blessings in the earth is where it's resting. Yeah, these are the lessons from sun up to sunset. And yeah, we never stay stressing. Backing it up. Yo, we're here to bring the truth. Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah, backing it up. Yeah, always moving forward. Yeah, never getting stuck. Yeah, we bring the ruckus. Yeah, we bring the noise. Yeah, we do it nicely, doing it precisely. Side of fish and rice beef. This is how we be. Yeah, set the spirits free from ancient Van City. Ah, yeah, it's our time to shine. Ah, yeah. Never stay stressing, cause we realize our blessings in the earth is where it's resting. Yeah, these are the lessons from sun up to sunset. And yeah, we never stay stressing. Hi, Tsepka.
Okay, one more time, Miss Christy Lee. I just really want to acknowledge the wealth of wisdom and history that she brings to this space. She's such a phenomenal human being, and we're actually just so fortunate to have her here today. So next up, we're going to start with a panel session. So this is going to be facilitated by Justice for Girls, and the topic is, why is the personal political for me? So I'd like to welcome up Justice for Girls.
can just pass it, right? Yeah, okay, great. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our panel on why the personal is political for me. I would first like to begin by recognizing that we are on the ancestral, traditional, territorial, and unceded land of my family, the Coast Salish peoples, specifically the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples who have lived on and off of these lands and waters since time immemorial. I would also like to challenge everyone here to consider what land acknowledgements mean to them, the role that acknowledgments of stolen land is playing today, and how we can make it more meaningful moving forward. Thank you. My name is Zoe Craig Sparrow, and I'm a member of the Musqueam Indian Band. Before we begin, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. As an Indigenous woman, I have personally experienced and witnessed the disproportionate intersectional impacts and often rights violations that I advocate against. The personal is political for me because it is my experiences and who I am as a Musqueam woman that have led me to where I am today. I began my activism about 10 years ago working with Justice for Girls when I was 12 years old. I've had the honor of carrying out a variety of important work through my role as a volunteer, intern, board member, and now co-director of the organization. From advocating against the mistreatment of girls caught in our justice system to fighting for girls' rights to a healthy environment at the United Nations, I have been using my voice as an Indigenous woman and drawing on my personal experiences to make political waves since before I was a teenager. The importance of youth empowerment and activism cannot be overstated. That is why I am so passionate about this panel, as it gives the opportunity to these youth, who both have the right and the ability to advocate for their future and to be leaders today, to share their incredibly important insights and experiences. So I have the privilege of introducing you to our four incredible panelists who will be sharing their stories of why their personal is political for them. They will each share their stories with us, and we will hopefully have some time at the end for some questions from the audience. So I'll start off by sharing a bit about each of our panelists, beginning with Sadea. So Sadea, a Métis young mother, joined Justice for Girls as an intern at the age of 17. Sadea was instrumental in organizing the Justice for Girls community consultations with young women in poverty in 2017 and provided strong leadership in developing the current vision and priorities of the organization. A key contributor to our 2018 report, A Space to Thrive, Sadea is a frequent speaker on issues such as violence against teen girls, young women in poverty, young women's access to education, and teen girls' experience in government care. So Sadea, anyway, yeah. So Rebecca Hamilton is also here, and she is a 16-year-old climate justice activist from Vancouver. She organizes Climate Strike Canada, a movement of young people across the country organizing climate strikes and other actions to build community and shift the narrative of climate emergency. In November, she helped start Sustainability Teens, the Vancouver Climate Strike Group. She is enthusiastic about uniting young people through climate justice movements and the movement of their generation. Rebecca? So next we have Savanah, and Savanah is the Public Engagement and Education Coordinator at Justice for Girls. She started as an intern at the age of 17, and since then she has also played a key role in developing and delivering public education workshops to medical students, educators, young women, students, and funders. Savanah also played a central role in the development of the 2018 report, A Space to Thrive, which details the current needs and recommendations of young women living in poverty in Vancouver. She has also recently been appointed to Vancouver City Women's Advisory Committee by the Vancouver City Council. This is Savanah. So next we have Morgan. Morgan is a young, black, kinky, queer, femme, full-time activist and part-time artist residing on the stolen and unceded lands of the Musqueam, Stolo, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. She has been the co-curator of a salon series called Black Chat for the last 3 years, making space for black folks to simply exist and to be black while being fed both food and knowledge. Running this space out of pocket in her home space with her aunt, a long-standing black queer activist and elder, is a foundational act to counter the constant policing of black lives and shine the light on the importance of intergenerational organizing. She's been a core member and organizer of the Black Lives Matter Vancouver movement for the past year, working to unite the black community in the Lower Mainland through art, dance, community conversation, and protest to fight the oppressive forces at B. She has recently taken a position on with out on screen as the community event coordinator, all while existing within a chosen leather family at Eastside Rerides. Morgan works and plays through a foundational and intersectional feminist lens that begins with and centralizes women of color, especially queer and trans women of color. This is Morgan. So, before we begin, I'd like to remind everybody that these women will be sharing personal stories with us, and that it is extremely important that we are respectful of them and their stories, both while we are listening and while we're asking questions afterwards. It takes a lot of courage and bravery to speak your truth, so I kindly ask that we please honor the words of our panelists and refrain from using our phones or making too much noise while they speak. So, without further ado, I will give it away to Morgan. Hi, Sepka, everyone.
Lose this Kleenex. Don't mind me, I'm gonna just adjust real quick. Hey. I'm a really terrible kind of public speaker, so this will be great. I also want to give like an additional round of applause to my fellow panelists, because I hadn't heard their bios before, and I'm like, okay, look at y'all doing things. Wow. Yes. Yeah, as previously mentioned, I have been organizing with Black Lives Matter Vancouver for the last year and a bit. My time with them has been really lovely and interesting and challenging, and I'm really interested to see how it continues to go and how it continues to be. My areas with them center around administration and event coordination, so I first got introduced to them at their first March on Pride 3 years ago now. And I've been with them since March on Pride last year, and we are now in the midst of planning March on Pride Part 3. And then another event that I helped organize was the Night of Black Magic, most recently this past March. I felt like putting a little bit of that in, but to be completely honest, I'm more so going to talk about other things that I do. So something that is really near and dear to my heart in terms of what I do for organizing and my activism is Black Chat. So Black Chat is a salon series that me and my aunt started when I first moved here. I'm originally from Territory 2, which is also known as Flin Flon, Manitoba, which is really far north, and I mean, if you know where that is, we should talk, because nobody knows where that is. But yeah, so there I was one of like maybe 6 Black folks in my hometown, and so my experience growing up with Blackness has been minimal and secluded to very small communities. And so for me, moving to Vancouver, I was like, oh my gosh, look at all these Black people, damn. And now I go other places and I'm like, okay, we still got lots of Black people, we're still here, so like, let's not say that we don't exist. But so we started doing Black Chats as a way for me to get to know a lot of the people that are here. I was really fortunate to have family here when I arrived, and so unlike a lot of people, I had connections already and people that were around to take care of me and teach me and guide me throughout my journey. And so Black Chat has kind of been our way of giving back to those people and making space for them as well. I organized Black Chats with my aunt, who isn't here, but I'm gonna give her a little shout out. Hey Kona, how you doing? Yes. She's a long-standing Black queer elder in this community, and I think that it would be unjust for me to be out here and not say something about her. She's amazing, we're basically the same person, and yeah, we've been running this series for the past 3 years. With the whole point of it is really just to make space for Black people to come and exist. There's not a lot of spaces in this city that allow that, and there's not a lot of places in this city that don't police that, or where you won't get funny looks. And so we clean our bathtubs and change the sheets on our beds and cook food and invite people that we hope will get along together well, just to literally come and be Black. And it's something that has been near and dear to my heart, and that we continue to do and will continue to do whether we're living together or not, and that's something that is really important to me. The main aspect of it that I enjoy is the intergenerational work of it. I think that there is so much that has been done prior to my existence, and so much has been done in order for me to be able to be on this stage today, that continuing to work with the people that came before me is something that I will continue to hold near and dear to my heart and carry on with me throughout all of my activism career. There's no need for us to remake the wheel every time that we want to start up something. And so if you have people that you're connected to, or if there's elders within your community, I strongly recommend tapping into those people, because it is very likely that they are totally going to help you out or give you some form of advice, and it might not be what you want to hear, but it's what you need to hear, so suck it up and do it. Something else that I do, I guess, that links into my intergenerational work. In my bio, I'm really clear about stating that I'm a queer, kinky woman. I don't have no issues talking about it. I don't really care. It's fine. There's enough people on this planet that are young women or young people that are interested in their sexual health and their sexual exploration. So me being able to talk about it in a really transparent way is something that is important to me. I don't have any projects really going on at this time with the kink community, but I'm working with some friends of mine to figure out a way to make it more accessible to people under the age of 35, because it can be intimidating, and you know, it's hard talking about sex with your parents and stuff. And so I'm lucky. I have a bunch of people that don't mind talking to me about it, but not a lot of people have that. And so again, you know, the more that we can have the really transparent dialogue, the better, in my opinion. Don't mind me, I didn't write anything. I just made some point notes. Something else, just on the topic of sexual being, that I'm really passionate about is sexual health. So last November, I myself found that I was diagnosed with herpes, which was kind of a pain in the butt, but you know, it's fine. Most of the population has it anyways, so it's cool. And a lot of people still to this day advise me against talking about it, because a lot of people have lost their jobs by being public about it. A lot of people lose relationships, friends, etc., and so forth. Like I said, the majority of the population has it, and a lot of people don't know that they have it. And so something that I try to bring into any job that I'm in, any activism that I do, is being really clear about our sexual health and the agency that we have over our own bodies, especially as a young queer woman, as a young queer black woman. I find that my self-agency is being questioned and stripped away from me all the time. And so I do what I can to advocate for myself and for other people around that, because that's what we deserve, and that's what I'm going to continue to fight for. Thank you. Thanks. How's my time? Okay, great. I'll wrap it up, I guess, by just talking a little bit about where my family came from. So on my mom's side, we're Guyanese, and like I said, we're from Treaty Number 2, Flin Flon, Manitoba. And on my dad's side, we're actually Afro-Guyanese. And so my auntie says this really fascinating thing, that is, we're stolen people on stolen land. What I know about my family is that the tribe that we originate from is called the Wapinashu people. We were snatched somewhere from Africa some hundreds of years ago and brought to Guyana. And then my family, my grandfather actually were sent to Treaty Number 6, which is Edmonton, Alberta. And so my aunt and father were the first generation of our people to be born here on Turtle Island. And I have the really complicated, I guess, wouldn't say pleasure of being the second generation, but I, in conversations with people yesterday, was talking about how interesting it is to be a stolen person on stolen land and feeling like this kind of floating human lacking home, because kind of regardless of where I've lived and regardless of where I've born, it still doesn't feel right. And so I guess what I'll finish with is similar to what you mentioned earlier, Zoe, about land acknowledgments and such, is really think about where it is that you came from and continue to put the names of your families in your mouths and continue to think about the work that they've done in order for you to be here, regardless of how much you've agreed with it or not, because it is important and it brought you to this lovely place at this time. And we exist on these lands that have been stolen, and we just need to keep on fighting for that. So that's what I got.
Okay, next up we have Sadea.
I feel so short. Okay. So, my name is Sadea, meaning first morning sun in Cree and Chipewyan. I was born in the Northwest Territories, but I have spent the majority of my life living in both Alberta and Vancouver. I am Métis, though there is some controversy around that, as my great-great-grandfather had to give up our full Indian status when he joined the Army. So as far as I know, I am a mix of Métis, Cree, Chipewyan, and Dene. I take a lot of pride in my name because it's the foundation of my identity, and it's the only piece left of me that hasn't been colonized. I'm also a mother to a 4-year-old little girl, and I'm the Young Women's Leadership and Engagement Coordinator at Justice for Girls. I come from a family of strong single mothers, and the matriarchs of my family have guided their children since time immemorial. My great-grandmothers, grandmothers, and mother have all been strong influences and activists both in my life and in their communities. As much as I carry the weight of the colonization and male violence the women in my family have experienced, I also carry their strength, their courage, and their resilience. I am proud to continue their hard work in my role with Justice for Girls. I was 17 when I started my first part-time internship, and at this point in my life, I felt like I had a pretty mature understanding of how the real world worked. But what I did not know was how much I was entitled to. What I did not know was how important and how impactful my voice is. What I did not know was that I was valued and my leadership was needed. At the age of 12, I entered my first foster home and became a permanent ward of the ministry. Between the ages of 12 to 19, I lived in a total of 13 homes, 3 of them being foster placements, and 10 of them unstable living situations, not including all the times that I had to couch surf. The ministry manufactures instability in the lives of teenage girls. The cost of that instability for girls is high. It is a traumatizing and unsafe experience. Justice for Girls knows of one young woman who lived in 27 foster homes and another young woman who lived in 15 homes before she was 12. It is a common experience for teenage girls in care to be moving from home to home and to have multiple social workers, all who they are expected to trust and rely on. The system's approach has a complete lack of humanity, like a cold room of only 4 white walls. The institutionalization of children through government care is harmful in a number of ways. It leaves young women and girls without any of the basic life skills to live independently. In some foster placements, you are not allowed to do your own laundry or your own grocery shopping. In others, they lock the fridges and the cupboards. The experience is dehumanizing. One young woman described it as feeling like a dog on a leash. The greatest harm of institutionalization isn't just that it leaves children without the life skills to live independently, but it robs them of other human experiences, such as building meaningful relationships, connecting to their culture, and to their communities. Imagine a 12-year-old Indigenous girl who has been home alone for hours, unsure of where her father is. He had left earlier that day in anger and slammed the door behind him. It's late at night, and the girl is sitting on her couch, anxiously biting her nails, when she hears the apartment buzzer. It's Child Protective Services, and they tell her that she would be going with them because her father just tried to kill her stepmother. After a long drive, she's taken to an administrative office where there are people flying around in their suits and their uniforms, talking about her as if she wasn't even there. It's the middle of the night, and she's standing on a stranger's doorstep. The door closes behind her, and the familiar face of the social worker she had been getting to know throughout the night disappears. And it's replaced by another stranger's face, her foster mother, who scowls at her as if she is a burden. The foster mother takes her to a bedroom, and she tells the girl that she would be locking the bedroom door until the morning because she didn't want her trying to escape. And so, the 12-year-old girl is left alone, tears streaming down her face, in a cold room of only 4 white walls. Young women and girls in care are often feeling alienated, isolated, and alone. As a young mother going through high school and through the foster care system, I am no stranger to these experiences. Young mothers in care live in constant fear that their children will be taken away. They are monitored by a system day in and day out. If any of you are in the audience today are parents, then you understand the unreasonable amount of pressure that society puts on us to be perfect parents. Imagine that pressure alone, and then some, with the added threat of having your children taken from you for not meeting that standard of perfect. Now imagine you're a teen under that kind of pressure. One young woman said, "It is assumed I am going to be a terrible mother because I am in care. We're not bad mothers, we're just in unfortunate situations." Imagine 6 years later, the 12-year-old girl is now a young woman and mother to a baby girl of her own. This time, the young woman's baby girl has been taken by the ministry. The young mother's greatest fear becomes a reality because just like her daughter would be left alone in the bedroom of a stranger's house to cry it out. They said she had attachment issues. And just like her baby girl's tears would stream down her face in a cold room of only 4 white walls. This fear is real. This is a reality, even more so for Indigenous young mothers. One young woman said to us, "I wasn't even out of the hospital yet, and the social worker came in to see me, and I thought for sure I was going to lose my baby." According to current MCFD data, less than 10% of the child population in BC is Indigenous, and yet as of May 2016, 60%, 4,445 of the total 7,246, there we go, children and youth in care in BC were Indigenous. It isn't just that we are afraid to have our babies ripped from our arms, we are afraid of where they are being taken. Because as a child in the ministry, we know best how disempowering, how traumatic, and how brutal the system can be. It is in the system that we are most vulnerable to experience violence and sexualized violence. I feared every single day. I feared every day from the moment I became pregnant to even after I aged out of care. The ministry consistently reminded me that they could and that they would take my baby. The story of colonization is one of the ministry taking Indigenous children from the arms of their Indigenous mothers. The story of colonization is one of Indigenous children alone and afraid in institutional homes. Under international law, it is an act of genocide to forcibly transfer children to another group. ministry claims to be in place to protect children, but it actually increases children's vulnerability. I believe the institution is so flawed that it needs to be taken down. I might not have the perfect solution, but I do know 3 concrete ways to make an improvement in the lives of teenage girls. I encourage you to listen to girls when they tell you what they need. It is important to stand beside her. Often, when girls are in care or attached to any person or place of authority, they are told what is best for them. My daughter is 4 years old, and she may not know how to tie her shoes, but what she does know is what makes her feel emotionally safe. When my daughter says, "I'm sad, I need a hug," do you know what I do? I hug her. When my daughter says to me, "I'm angry, I don't want to talk to you, and I don't want you to talk to me," do you know what I do? I don't talk to her. She asks me not to, I give her space. Young women and girls in care face barriers that lack a lack of education and tools that make it harder for them to identify their feelings or to cope with them, especially when they have adults telling them how they should be feeling or what they think is best for them. The only person who knows best for her is her. I've made it a mission to give my daughter those tools. It is important that I am careful with my responses and reactions to her, and I make sure that I validate her and I respect her and her feelings. It tells her that I'm listening and I'm supporting her, but with her guiding me. I encourage you to educate yourselves. In order to properly support teenage girls, you need to understand the realities of her world. I think there is this notion that teenage girls don't have real issues. We are dealing with the exact same issues as women, but with the added barrier of being a youth. The violence I experienced started way before I turned 19. I was living in the same patriarchal society then as I am now. The only difference is that then I had no autonomy, and I was navigating multiple systems and institutions. It also is important that you understand the impacts of poverty, homelessness, violence, sexualized violence, colonization, racism, and government care. You must understand the compounding impacts of these barriers, and it's important to understand how this acts as a barrier to her access to education and her success in life. I encourage you to support teenage girls with staying connected to the women in their families and in their lives. I can personally express the importance of being connected to strong women. I remember feeling like I wasn't even a person, let alone with rights. And then I started my first internship with Justice for Girls. I was given an education that I probably wouldn't have been given anywhere else. Throughout the past few years, I've had the privilege to connect with and learn from so many amazing women and girls. And they have and they continue to give me purpose, strength, and love every single day. I am grateful and I am whole. Just take a look at where you all are right now. Wonderful things happen when we connect. Just like when young women are given leadership roles. I think personally what has been most impactful to me as a young woman is having someone to believe in me in my youth. It shaped me into the strong woman I am today. I plan on using my youth to fight hard to create change, and when I'm older and wiser, I plan on taking a step back and guiding the next generation of youth. I think that is our destiny. Young women leaders are, and they will, change the world. We have earned our platform. When I close my eyes, I think about my daughter and her big, beautiful brown eyes looking up at me. I think about how much she loves me and how much she needs me. I think about how far we have come and how hard I have worked to get us here. I think about how I am fighting for her, and I'm fighting for her because, like most mothers, I want my child to grow up in better circumstances than myself. And like most women, I dream of a day when equality is a basic and inalienable concept that is given to every girl, woman, mother, daughter, sister, and aunt. And like all women, my daughter and I have a right to this. Now, I want you to close your eyes. Who are you thinking of? Who are you fighting for? Keep fighting. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Sadea. All right, up next we have Rebecca. Please take it away.
Okay. So, hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm 17 years old, and I'm lucky to have a lot of dreams for the future. I have so much to be excited for. But growing up in the 21st century means that I've always known about climate change, always seen it as a dark cloud sitting on the horizon of my future. I remember in grade 7 science class watching a documentary about the human impacts of the climate crisis, and watching the floods and storms and fires flooding out of the projected image. I was hit with overwhelming grief and frustration and confusion. Because if this crisis was so big, why was no... sorry, I need to drink more water. Okay. Living in this world is so confusing for us teenagers, and not just because we're teenagers, but because we are growing up in a massive dissonance. I know the science that we are in a crisis, and yet around me, I see no one acting like this. Our world just keeps continuing on as normal, with the profit of very few being prioritized over actions that would protect the well-being of the many. As young people, we're constantly being asked about our future and to plan what we want to be doing 30 years down the road. But we literally, thank you so much. But we literally do not know what the world will look like then, and it is being made more uncertain by every day of inaction. If politics is how humans make decisions together, my future and that of my generation and all to come is political. My desire to live in a stable civilization beyond 2050 is not something I really have personal control over, and that is frustrating. The only way to deal with this hopelessness is to come together and engage politically. The personal is political for me because we are all personally affected by the climate crisis, and the only way to change it is at a community, systems, and political level. But it's really important for me to recognize that as far as physical impacts go, this crisis really isn't personal for me, like it is for people on the front lines. For me, climate is mostly a question of my future, but there are millions of people around the world who are already losing their homes and families and lives. My life is probably not going to be directly threatened, because climate chaos tends to disproportionately affect those who least caused it, and I am not one of those people. A local example of this is wildfire smoke. It affects all of us to some degree, because if nothing else, we all share the same air. But it also impacts different groups differently, further exacerbating existing inequalities. For example, folks with air conditioning in their homes and cars to drive to office jobs to may be inconvenienced by the apocalyptic sky or have summer vacations disrupted. But for folks who are homeless or who have no choice but to work outdoors, smoke means being subject to lung damage, the equivalent of smoking 9.5 packs of cigarettes in one day. So this will either bring us all together or push us further apart. And in a way, this is what I find exciting about this movement. This is not going to affect us all the same, and so our response must also involve healing existing wounds. Our current situation is the manifestation of problems woven through the foundation of our society's current way of doing things. And so this is our opportunity to change those other things in the foundation that also don't work. This is what climate justice means to me. That this movement isn't just about changing the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, but about changing the concentration of power and inequality in our society. Climate change actually means everything change, and so climate justice means everything justice. But this isn't how it's being approached by most leaders in our society. I see our society as a vehicle hurtling towards catastrophe, and the more we accelerate, the more we will get hurt. But instead of desperately pulling a U-turn, most leaders are looking into gently tapping the brakes. I think this is because some people want us to believe that this vehicle is a train limited to one track, and that it is not realistic to get off the path we are on without crashing and burning. And so, through this worldview, the only way to address this catastrophe is to take half measures to slow down and try to brake. As young people, though, we spend time looking out of the windows of this vehicle, trying to make sense of what is going on, instead of fixating on the arrangement of chairs inside of the confined moving box. And so we know that we are not, in fact, on a train, but rather a bus. We know that the path we are on right now is not inevitable or immovable, but just one of a multitude of possibilities. And we know that the person sitting in the driver's seat should represent the needs of where all the passengers want to go, and that we can come together to make this happen. I think, like trying to change any existential problem, trying to shift this inertia, this oppressive inertia, feels like we are each trying to move a boulder by punching it and screaming. No matter how hard we try, all we end up with is bloody fists and a hoarse voice. And this is why the political is powerful. I know that so many of us are cradling knuckles with torn skin, but by coming together, we can channel that energy into constructing a lever with which to move this boulder that is obstructing our progress. Because I know that the weight of our collective power is always greater than that of anything blocking us. While political is usually another term for divisive, we cannot win by making this a partisan issue. The only division when it comes to getting us off of this path we are on is between people who value the lives of their children and people who value dogged adherence to our current way of doing things. And all of us on the former side need to put down our differences and come together. We know that this enormous climate crisis impacts each of us personally, so what are we supposed to do about it? For a long time, the main response to this that I got was that this crisis is like our personal fault, and the only way to solve it is if I personally stop using straws and stop driving and go vegan. This dissonance between the enormity of this crisis we are facing and the seemingly insignificance of these solutions we are presented with causes me, and I think most people, to disengage. Also, a lot of these solutions are not accessible to everyone in the context of our current world. And so we all need to do all these things, but they need to arise out of a profound shift in our collective values first. Environmentalism is not about a cute lifestyle choice. The only way we can get through this is changing everything. And I'm really excited to have a part of this conference focused on young people. I think the youth are critical to this movement for a more just and sane world because we have a different perspective. We're still in touch with our imaginations. We aren't as entrenched in the status quo and understand that we not only can, but we must build a world that puts people and justice above all else. And across the world, teenagers are doing this. Millions of us are taking to the streets to demand that the time for procrastination on climate action is over. The climate strike movement is sweeping the world and is incredible to be a part of. But as young people, preserving the future of our generation is our burden, not our responsibility. We need young perspectives, and we desperately need someone to be taking action, but we are still teenagers. When adults say that they are proud of all of the young people who are saving us and brightening the future, they are missing the point. I can't even vote. I, right now, don't have power in this society. We are not the ones driving the bus. Our movement is to remind the adults and the people who do have power that we are in a crisis and that they need to do something about it. To me, the climate strike movement has lessened the hopelessness and aloneness that I once felt. The action we do or don't take now determines the future of civilization, and that's really scary, but in many ways it's also exciting. Because right now, we're part of an incredible movement and community of young people coming together to protect what we love, and that is a really powerful feeling, and that is how I know we will win. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. That was very, very inspirational. Savanah, your turn.
Good afternoon. My name is Savanah Norman. I am 20 years old, and I am the Public Education and Engagement Coordinator at Justice for Girls. Thank you to everyone here today, and especially to those who contributed to making this conference possible on such short notice. It has been a privilege to get to know so many fierce, resilient, and inspiring women. As a feminist activist, the personal has always been the political, whether I knew it all along or not. My experiences as a girl living in poverty and the experiences of other women and girls in my life are the reason I do what I do. I have had the privilege of living in the beautiful Pacific Northwest all my life. I come from a working class family of miners, laborers, waitresses, and activists. Like many families in Vancouver, we struggled and continue to struggle to live in this city. Both of my parents were impacted by male violence as children, as well as poverty. They both dropped out of school before they were 16. And they both dealt with their experiences with the limited tools they had at their disposal. As a little girl, I witnessed, for better or for worse, all of the ways they coped. I have never lived anywhere longer than 5 years. I have moved well over 30 times in my short life. There were periods of time over the years I remember couch surfing and sleeping in my dad's truck. Homelessness was safer than staying with my abusive stepfather. In elementary school, my teachers assumed I had dyslexia because I couldn't read and put me in special ed classes. What they didn't know was that the person teaching me to read was my stepfather, and refusing to read was my small act of resistance. When I entered the 8th grade, I was accepted into a mini-school program at a wealthy West Side school, where I only knew one person on my first day. It quickly became apparent that I was much poorer than my peers. My teachers called me out in front of the class daily about unpaid school fees. Because my clothes were secondhand, the running joke in my grade was that Savanah smelled like Value Village. Like most girls in my school, I was also subjected on a daily basis to sexual, physical, and verbal harassment from male students and even a couple of teachers. It was so normalized amongst us girls that no one questioned it. One day, a group of boys in my grade threw a rugby ball into the back of my head as hard as they could, knocking me and everything I was holding to the ground. A male teacher in the hall saw and commented that they must like you. Before winter break in the 8th grade, I started to skip classes quite frequently. The more I skipped, the more grief I got at school from teachers and peers. I was passed around to multiple counselors who had good intentions but had little understanding of the violence and the poverty I was experiencing, or they didn't know how to respond. My high school guidance counselor said to me one day that my life was like a soap opera. I guess the chaos in my life was entertaining to her. Within a year and a half, I was convinced that there was nothing for me at school, and nobody convinced me otherwise. All of my teachers, except for one, thought I didn't care or was up to no good. The thought never occurred to them to ask me if I was okay. Instead, I was scolded for my poor attendance. As I disconnected from school, I discovered the solution to my problems: drugs and alcohol. Drugs and alcohol disconnected me from my family and from having to feel anything, bad or good. Addiction has affected my family for generations, which was really a result of generations of men and women subjected to male violence and poverty. Something I thought would never happen to me happened, and I found myself here, on the downtown east side at 15. The living conditions of the downtown east side are deplorable. No human being should ever be subjected to such a disgusting and unsafe living environment. Single-room occupancy hotel rooms, the hotel rooms where people live in the downtown east side, should be condemned. If you have never been in one, let me describe them for you. The rooms are like prison cells, a shoebox with a toilet, sink, and a bed if you're lucky. They're filled with rats, cockroaches, dirty needles, and asbestos. You may see someone slumped unnaturally on the ground, their skin blue and purple because they have overdosed. People rob you, semi-naked men roam the halls. People suffering from serious, untreated mental health issues scream and scratch at their skin until they bleed. Dealers come to collect their debts. Older men exploit teen girls behind closed doors, and sometimes those doors are not even closed. Adult men feed teenage girls drugs like candy. A young woman I know was forcibly confined by one of those men. It was just down the street from here where she was raped and forced to stay in an SOR room with a dead man's body. Rats and flies circled the dead body while she waited to be released. Thankfully, she survived. It is absolutely appalling that the Ministry of Child and Family Development has placed any youth in their care in an SRO. Teenage girls are brutally preyed upon and exploited in downtown east side by pimps, dealers, Johns, and men like Robert Picton and Martin Tremblay. The horrors I experienced and witnessed and the pain I endured in the downtown east side, I will never forget. The root cause of addiction is pain, and the attempt to escape pain actually creates more pain. It is a vicious cycle that is extremely difficult to break. I became a regular at Family Services Youth Detox. In between detox days, I started at a new school, an alternative program in East Vancouver. Only a couple months into my first semester, I went into the only free youth residential treatment center in the city. I was not happy about having to spend my sweet 16 in rehab. To everyone's surprise, I completed the 10-week program and returned to school. In recovery, I found that working closely with other women and girls was how I was able to begin my own healing. My eyes were suddenly open. When I was 17, I was approached by the alternative education staff about an internship at a grassroots feminist organization, Justice for Girls. They encouraged me to apply because they saw me as a leader at school. In April of 2016, I started working as a part-time intern for Justice for Girls, where we conducted a 1.5-year-long project with teenage girls, young women, and community organizations in Vancouver to learn about the current realities facing teenage girls living in poverty. The project focused on our experiences within the services and institutions designed to support, protect, and educate us, with a particular focus on the education system. We listened directly to 51 teenage girls and young women because we believe girls are the experts in their own experience and must define solutions to issues that affect their lives. Those young women that we spoke to are part of the reason why I am here today. Their voices will be heard. Violence against girls remains one of the greatest barriers to equality. Male violence has affected the daily lives of every young woman Justice for Girls has worked with over the past 20 years. For homeless girls, it's not a question of whether they have experienced male violence, but how brutally and how often. The Canadian Federation of University Women reports that 54% of girls under the age of 16 have experienced some form of unwanted sexual attention, and 24% have experienced rape. Of the 5% of sexual assaults reported to the police in Canada, girls under the age of 18 make up half of all victims, with sexual assault rates highest among girls aged 13 to 15. Those statistics should make you angry. I learned these startling numbers for the first time at 17 as an intern. It became all I could think and talk about. I realized these experiences were not mine alone, but were shared by many. I brought this new knowledge back to my classrooms, to my fellow students and teachers. I knew that these conversations needed to be had. When I graduated, I was nominated as valedictorian and received the Citizenship Award. Since being in a leadership position, I have spoken publicly on behalf of Justice for Girls at many forums and events about violence in the lives of girls. I helped develop and deliver rights education workshops for high school students to teach them about legal and meaningful consent. I have spoken to hundreds of medical students, nursing students, social work students, and teachers in training on best practices when working with girls who live in poverty. I have met with multiple politicians to gain their support and guidance of a Justice for Girls Center. I have written and published editorials in both the Vancouver Sun and the province. And most recently, I have been appointed to the City of Vancouver Women's Advisory Committee. Not done. It feels strange to stand up here and to list my accomplishments, but I am doing it because I want people to see that young women can and will lead. I want girls to know that they can start today no matter their age, education, or experience. Every day I wake up and see what is happening in the world, and I am afraid and overwhelmed. I do what I do because I have to. What drives me is my understanding of the pain, fear, and suffering of teenage girls living in poverty. What drives me is my belief that girls deserve better. We deserve to live in a world free from the threat of male violence. We deserve autonomy, dignity, and respect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Savanah. And I'd like to say one huge thank you again to all four of our panelists for their bravery and willingness to share their stories with us, as well as all the hard work you guys have all done. So thank you so much. Couple minutes for one or two questions, and I'd like to strongly encourage any youth that are in the audience to ask questions if you have them, or to share your own little story about your activism if you'd like. So there's a microphone there, so if maybe one or two questions for our panelists, if anybody has any. I have some if you guys don't. So okay, so I think if there's nobody who has any, going once, going twice. Okay, so I have two questions for you guys. First is, what is one piece of advice that you would give to fellow young activists? So if you guys just have a quick piece of advice.
Oh gosh, that is so loud. Okay. One piece of advice that I would give to young activists would be two things. One, make sure that it's something that you really care about. Because regardless of what it is, even the things that you really care about and are passionate about, it's hard work and it's exhausting, and unless you are in really fortunate circumstances, it's probably not paying you. And if it is, it's probably not paying all that well, and so there's other things to juggle amongst that. So yeah, make sure that it's something that you really love and care about. Secondly, it would be to find and appreciate the support that is the most accessible to you. And I know in saying that sometimes that support isn't awesome, in which case, is it really support? That could be up for debate. But even if it's not necessarily support that you agree with, for whatever reason, I recommend highly to appreciate it and to find a place that it sits with you best, because it will be part of what keeps the work sustainable.
Okay, yeah.
I think that it would definitely be, I guess, kind of to add to what you said, is to surround yourself with, woman. I think. I mean, like I was saying earlier, I think that's what's really helped me. And to those two things, I really want to emphasize on that, is to know who you're fighting for, why you're fighting. And every day it's gonna be challenging so you need to sit down and go, okay, why am I doing this? There has been, that is exactly what it is. To celebrate the small, tiny successes. We don't do that enough. It's really exhausting and it's draining because it's a really slow process. But I think, I personally look at my baby and I'm like, man, I'm doing something, I'm changing something, and it's big. So yeah, I think really celebrate your successes.
Yeah, everything that you both said. I think especially finding people to do it with. No change happens through individuals just doing their thing. It's all about community and coming together. And it also just makes it much more sustainable to have a support system and have other people that you're working with. And yeah, what you were saying about picking something that you really care about, and also the way that you, there's so much different change that needs to happen. And so the most effective thing you can do is whatever you feel best doing and whatever you enjoy doing the most. And so in terms of whether you really love music or talking to people, or really think about what your special strengths are and what you enjoy.
My advice to a young activist, something that I was told when I was younger, still am young, would be to not doubt yourself because of your age. You are able to do it, what you are able to say. Just because you might not have the words at first to articulate it, you will learn them and you will find them. That you are able to do it. Despite your age, that the issues that the issues that I talk about, they do impact my daily life. So I do know what I'm talking about because it's my future and my life, and it's been my experience. So to just be confident in what you're doing, a lot of the time I find that I'm usually one of the youngest people in the room, not with Justice for Girls, but, and that's okay, and that means that you should be listened to, actually more, so yeah.
Great. Well, I think that is all the time that we have today, but I just want to end on this note. I know everyone always says that the future is in good hands, but I think after today we can all agree that the present is in good hands too. So thank you guys.
Wow, that was really... Hello. That was really incredible. I'm just going to speak for myself when I say I cycled through every emotion watching these young women speak. They truly are so powerful and resilient and inspiring. And I hope that inspires every young person in this room to know that you're never too young to do the work, because you are the work and your story matters and what you have to say really matters. I know that's kind of heavy for the beginning of the morning, but it's necessary. So what we're going to do right now is just take literally a 5-minute break. I heard a happy rumor. There's some baked goods in the back. I'm just saying. So just take a little breather, take a walk, and we're going to come back with some uplifting, motivational music to get the vibes going, okay? Thank you so much.